Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Pick 6 presented by Sleep Number. I'm Wobby, ready to answer your questions. Thanks for sending them in. Let's get to work. Question number 1 comes from Robbie. I was really upset with our first round draft pick. I would have supported moving up and getting an offensive lineman who would have helped our pass protection, protecting our most valuable asset, Kirk Cousins. Well, it is important to protect Kirk Cousins. But listen, Robbie, I got some good news. Mike Hughes, who we took in the first round, he's going to be awesome. He had a really good spring here, and he's going to help the Vikings as a rookie, definitely on special teams in the return game, and possibly even on defense. I have more good news. Even though the Vikings didn't take an offensive lineman in the first round, their pass protection and their run blocking is looking good, and I think it's going to be better than it was last year. Remember, the Vikings are returning 5 offensive linemen with at least 7 starts from last season. You have Danny Isadora and Avion Collins coming back, signed Tom Compton, got Josh Andrews from Philadelphia, and then drafted Brian O'Neill in the 2nd round and Colby Gossett in the 6th round. So I think the Vikings offensive line is set to be deep and good in 2018. Charles from Brazil has question number 2. Excited to see Tashawn Bower in his 2nd season. Are we seeing a new John Randall? Both were undrafted and had 1 sack in their first regular season. Yes, Tashawn Bower has shown great promise. Let's ease up on the John Randall comparison. He's a Hall of Famer. Maybe Tashawn can get there one day. We'll see. He does have some promise, but so do a bunch of other defensive linemen on this roster. Is there a better defensive line and a deeper defensive line than the Vikings in the NFL? I'm not sure about that. Brian Robinson, Everson Griffen, Danielle Hunter, and then behind them, Bower and Weatherly. You have Ade Aruna, Afadi Adenabo as developmental players. I love the way the Vikings defensive line is shaping up for 2018. Question number 3 comes from Dustin. Great updates on some rookies, but didn't hear much about Conklin, Gossett, or Aruna. How did they do in OTAs? Well, it's tough to say because with Gossett and Aruna, the guys aren't wearing pads, and you need pads and contact to really assess how offensive linemen and defensive linemen are doing. But Andre Patterson is really high on Ade Aruna. He loves his desire to get better. I think Gossett is a Sperano type of guy, a big, strong, stout, physical offensive lineman. And then Conklin, he looked really good in the Vikings rookie minicamp, running routes and catching passes. Then he got banged up, so I'm excited to see him back out on the field when the guys get back here for training camp. The next question comes from Nathan. What is the status of Everson Griffen? He missed time at OTAs and minicamp. Same injury as last year? No, it was not the same injury as Everson had during last year's regular season, so that's good. And even better news, Everson is going to be good to go for training camp. No worries there. The Vikings were just playing it safe and resting 97 during OTAs and minicamp. Here's the silver lining in that deal, though. That means Riley Reiff got a different look than he normally gets during practice, which is going to sharpen his skills. He got a look at Danielle Hunter during the offseason program, not Everson Griffen, and Danielle Hunter got some reps as a right defensive end, which is going to give him some versatility because now he can play the left or the right side. The next question comes from William. How is Kendall Wright doing? I haven't heard or seen any pics or video. Well, Kendall Wright was a free agent signing for the Vikings this offseason. We signed him away from the Chicago Bears, and he's in that wide receiver competition that's super deep right now. Brandon Zylstra, Kendall Wright, Stacy Coley, Laquan Treadwell, just a few of the names of guys who will be competing for a roster spot at wide receiver. The next question comes from Phil. Which former Viking should make it to the Hall of Fame? Obviously, Jim Marshall, Jared Allen, and Adrian Peterson are easy choices, but what about Matt Burke or Steve Hutchinson? Well, let's look at 2 of those names that Phil mentioned. Steve Hutchinson, I think he's going to make it. He was a finalist in his first year of eligibility. That bodes well for his future. Jim Marshall, he's going to have to be a senior committee nominee and get in the same way that Mick Tingelhoff did. Tingelhoff deserved it, and I think Marshall does too. Hopefully, he gets in. That's it for this week's edition of the Pick 6. We'll be back next week with another edition. So make sure you send your questions in to the email address at the bottom of the screen. We'll see you next week.